All right, so I'm gonna right click map smart map this order. This order is unassigned, right? So most of these like auto dispatch really is just like handling the majority of this stuff. And it will handle this order as well. But let's just say that I like want to make sure we have a suitable option or something. I can right click map smart map. This is gonna pull me into this order. It's also actually gonna show me by default, it's gonna show me anybody who has no orders and anybody who's on route with just one, right? So like I could see like maybe I would want to send this driver, right? Or like this guy's finishing up here as well. So obviously it would depend on the situation, but it's going to do that. The other thing, like let's say we click on this driver with no orders, right? It's going to show me that driver and any orders that I might want to give that driver. So you'll see like those other couple drivers disappeared, right? Because I clicked on that driver over here. But now I'm seeing just him and just this one order that's unassigned. Typically, if there was more orders that were unassigned, it would show me those as well. So kind of like in that case, I'm looking at the driver, finding an order for them, instead of looking at the order, finding a driver for it, if that makes sense. If that helps at all. Can you show what to do when a driver rejects an order? So really with auto dispatch, if a driver rejects an order, it's just going to run again. But honestly, like that's kind of it. If you're using auto dispatch, it will just run again. Emory may actually be better jumping in at this point as well. If he's down, I'll still be here. But is there a dispatcher alert, Emory, when the driver rejects an order? I feel like there is.
Yeah, it doesn't say that the driver rejects it. It just basically says this driver is missing, or this order is missing a driver. So,
got you. Well, that does mean that it had a driver at one point.
Right.
Because
right.
it won't do that if the order hasn't had a driver before. So if you were like taking it into manual mode or whatever, and Emory, if you want to start screen sharing, that'd be cool. But if you were kind of taking it into manual mode, you would see those red dispatcher alerts. You'd be able to hover that exclamation point that I mentioned. Actually, is a great example on the board. So I'm going to take back up the sharing it, but maybe if it's fast enough. So like these, there's two orders right now with the dispatcher alerts, and I'm resharing as well. But one of them is the driver is missing on this order. I'll stop now.
Yeah, it looks like the driver was missing, but I mean, that can be for any number of reasons, right? It's not just when they reject an order. It can also be if you have to remove them for whatever reason, it'll pop it up to the top. So obviously if you're the person who removed it, you know, it's under control. If you have another driver or auto dispatch, you can run it again, and you would be able to clear that via right clicking on the order itself, clear dispatcher alert, and that would turn it back to the normal color that we see here with all the other orders. So like this one is another good example of a dispatcher alert. There's no driver checked in for this location, and then it also says location SOS sent. So, it's telling you right away, hey, this order is a problem. We don't have a driver for it, and we also sent an SOS, so we could have one logging in shortly. And as soon as one does log in, I believe this will clear itself. So, yeah, just another example of a dispatcher alert you may see. But outside of that, that was a pretty thorough explanation, Devon, of the dispatch board. I'd say just one more thing kind of worth adding on the question of how do I see all of, or how do I, kind of sort by driver. There's actually in the dispatcher settings that we looked at, there's also allow filtering based on driver, which you can use. I don't know if you covered this or not, but you can use this in the driver box to see all of the past and current orders on the dispatch board that a driver has run for the day. So this is the settings that I use, but that's allow filtering based on driver down here. Go back to the dispatch board. It will put this little eyeball next to the driver name. So just for instance, I will walk into this top market. We'll take a peek here at Luke's orders, and it'll show you the 2 orders that he's on, plus all of the other orders that he's run already. So if you're wondering, oh, I just had an issue with some McDonald's orders, you can just look, boom, I had this driver, oh, 2 McDonald's orders. There was likely that driver at that point. Just another way to go about looking at that. Lots of different ways to do a lot of different things.
Got a quick question, Emery.
What's up, Jeff?
There's a chat little bubble next to the customer.
Yep.
Do I not see that because I'm on the dispatch through DeliverLogic?
So that actually corresponds to the smart support. So basically, if we have a chat for the customer, whether they're replying to a chat that we sent or something to that effect, that's when it'll populate red like that. So you could just click it right away, and it would show you that chat in the smart support where we perform all of our phone calls.
Gotcha.
And to answer that question specifically for you, Jeff, yes, you're not going to see it because we use our smart support, not yours.
Copy that.
Right.
Where does the eyeball come from again?
So
Because I don't
yeah.
see it.
No, I got you. Yeah. So you have to make sure that that setting is selected. So if you go to the dispatch board, to the top settings, go to dispatcher. That one is allow filtering based on driver at the bottom there. You got to make sure that is selected or else it won't give you that option. And then, of course, you got to hit save as well. Kind of while we're on this page here, I know we talked about LSC, last status change, earlier. Another thing that's been pretty useful and is actually kind of an old feature is the status alerts. So these are something that you can put for each status that is on the dispatch board. And if it's in that status for this amount of minutes or more, it'll start blinking. So say you have, a driver who's en route, your average, en route to deliver time is 15 minutes. You could put this to 15 minutes or above it, 16 minutes, if you will, and it'll start blinking at 16 minutes and it'll show you, okay, this might be worth investigating if the driver's having any issues. You just need to make sure that he's doing okay. If there's traffic, what have you, could be an opportunity to communicate that to the customer as well. So I have mine set to confirmed, place, arrived, and en route, 25, 25, 15, 15. So if we jump back here, I can show, like this one was placed for 39 minutes, and that's why it's blinking. Let's see, this one was en route for 15 minutes, that's why it's blinking. Basically, blinking alerts just help you just see at a moment's notice something that might need a little more attention there. But yeah, it's a good question. I have my board organized a little bit differently than the typical setup that Devon went through at the beginning of the call. But, pretty much all of the main points there, SRC, status, LSC, I prefer to keep those right next to each other, just so you can see, what the status is, how long ago it changed. At the beginning here, I have the age, how old the order is currently been within the system, what the pick in, so, whether or not the pickup time is either past due or coming up. And then the due in, of course, is the end all be all that we like to use on the dispatch team. Of course, you always want to deliver those orders that are due to the customers sooner. So definitely the best way I have found to organize the dispatch board.
Go over the order tags if you don't mind. That's something I don't have on my screen since I don't really dispatch, but they're super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Order tags are a great customizable piece of the technology. They're basic. You can customize them based, off of what you prefer for your team. But that's this column here. So we have a bunch of different tags that we put on orders. So if I click on an order, let's say this one, go to quick info. I have all these different order tags that I could put on the order. So depending on which role I'm in on the team, what I'm doing at the moment in time, I can tag it. If I'm a placer, US team could not place, or call customer ASAP, or the restaurant's closed, issue with order. Basically just attaching little pieces of information to the order so someone else who is in a different role might see it. Oh, the restaurant's closed, call custo ASAP. okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deselect those, and I'm going to select calling customers. So the person who knows that it was an issue and put those original tags on there knows that it's being handled at that point. And you can customize and create any tags that you like. I believe that's under management decisions in settings. But yeah, order tags are a big part of our process. They certainly help us see which orders need attention, kind of what is going on at an order like this one. There was an issue with getting the phone or the restaurant on the phone. I don't even need to look at the driver chat or anything. I can see just off of the order tags. We couldn't get them on the phone. The driver's placing it. We asked them to place the order rather than just continuously trying to call the restaurant for 25 minutes. If their phone's off the hook, I'd rather get a driver over there if they're nearby, be able to place that order ASAP. And let's see, these late SMS sent tags are automated messages that go out to the customer from the system, saying basically, hey, your order's a little bit behind. We've coordinated to make sure it's fresh. Here's your tracking link. Make sure to track that link for further updates. Yep, and that pretty much wraps up the order tags. It's very useful. If anyone is not using them, I certainly suggest doing so. If you have a medium-sized team, it can certainly help on the communication side of things, cutting down on the back and forth. Let me see here. I actually have, instead of driver name here, I have driver short, which just abbreviates their name. I like to use that and resto short as well. Those are options. If you want the full restaurant name and the full driver name, that's totally fine. I just prefer to use the abbreviated columns just so I can kind of fit more information on the page without having to scroll. But that's why, none of the last names are fully shown until you highlight them or hover over them, rather. You have any questions about any of the stuff that we've covered so far? Anything I can explain or jump into?
And we have one scenario we might be curious about. I'm not sure if you'll find an example to show us, though. Yeah, curious how you'd run a redelivery. Say a customer calls you, said my food was delivered, but there's no food on the doorstep. What steps would you go through in the system to get that delivery resent back to the customer?
Okay, yeah, that's pretty easy. So any time that we come into that scenario, all we would have to do is go to the customer's profile, and I'll show you a shortcut here. So let's just create a kind of a hypothetical scenario. Let's say this driver, let me find one that's already delivered. Let's just say that this customer said that they didn't get their food. So to set up a redelivery, all we would have to do is click on the order. We can click on Quick Info. And this is where we have a lot of good features with the order tags. These are all hyperlinks, so this will bring you to the restaurant's profile. This will bring you to their menu. This actually is the customer's account, so this is what we're looking for in this instance. We have all their contact information here, but let's click on their name, and that will port over. Well, let me see if it'll actually show. Are you guys okay? Perfect. It took a minute, but anyway, this is the customer's profile here. They say, hey, I never got my Goldburger order. Can I get that redelivered? You say, absolutely. And that's what this button is right here. So this little red circle is, it says redeliver. I don't know if it shows on the screen share, but as I hover over it, it says redeliver. I won't actually put one in, but I can show you kind of what that process looks like. So I'll go ahead and click it. I think there's a little bit of a delay on oh, here we go. Okay. So once I click that button, it'll say order redelivery, select the liable party, depending on what happened, let's just say the driver dropped it off at the wrong house. So what we would do there is we would say driver's fault, since they're the one who made the mistake. We're going to move the commission, meaning that it's going to charge the original driver for the tip and the delivery fee and move that to the new driver. Now, it automatically assigns the same driver if possible, but you can always manually reassign a redelivery if you need to, and it'll send that commission to that new driver. But we would just hit move commission there, proceed with redelivery. Again, I'm not going to finalize this one. I'm just kind of walking you guys through. And it automatically reloads the order with a $0 balance. So it's saying basically, you know, we're going to discount them. Obviously, we're not going to charge them twice for an order they only received once. But say, you know, just kind of on a quick tangent, that they were only missing a couple of their items, you would just delete all these other items that they already received. Let's say they missed their waffle fry and their nerd burger. So we would just go ahead and just proceed with these two. And at that point, we would just make sure that the payment is good to go. It's going to say cash payment just because, again, it does have a $0 balance. We don't want to charge the card again. It doesn't make sense to do so, and we would hit complete order at that point. Again, not going to go ahead and do that because this was a live order. But, yeah, that's how you would go about setting up a redelivery. Shane, it looks like you got a question.
Hey, I just wanted to clarify on a redelivery. You had mentioned that it tries to find the same driver if possible. I was thinking that it came in, that all redeliveries came in as pause, giving the dispatcher the option to either play it or manually assign that driver. Unless it's changed recently, I'm not sure. Just wanted to get clarification.
I gotcha. I mean, that might be a setting. Is that, Devon, do you have any kind of insight there? As far as I know, currently, you know, on the dispatch team, it's going to, if the driver's logged in and not paused, it's automatically going to grab them and throw them on the redelivery.
Yeah, I think maybe when we first started, it used to pause those or something, but I don't believe it does anymore either. And I don't think it's a setting.
Gotcha. There you have it.
It may actually be a location setting. I'm going to look.
I just saw your note, Nick. Yeah, happy to help. If anyone has any other questions, I'm very happy to jump into an explanation for you. I'm going to go ahead and exit this one and get back to the dispatch board for you. Let's see here.
Emery, one of the things that I find, I know we have a few people on that are starting up soon. And I just wanted to make sure that they're familiar with kind of what to look out for in terms of blockers and priorities, right? At the beginning, Devon mentioned, which is, you know, we always say the same thing, like their primary job is to get orders into the place status.
Right.
But the biggest challenge that I see for new folks coming over is that they're used to clicking buttons and doing things, right? Like, where's my driver? Who do I send it to? How do I click and drag and all these button clicks? And I believe it becomes more of like a monitoring situation and being able to quickly identify what's blocking or what are the bottlenecks. So I just want to see if you can touch on like what should they be looking for if they're not really familiar how to work with AD instead of for AD. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it is a little bit of a transition whenever you're going from manually dispatching all the time to working in conjunction with auto dispatch. So that is a good point. Let me find a market here that has some orders, a reasonable order to driver ratio. I don't know if we talked about that earlier, but in this box on the left, it'll actually shuffle all of the most unassigned orders in a market to the top. So it'll be easy for you to say, oh, okay, this market's doing, you know, needs a little help, needs a little extra attention. Let me just go look at the top few markets and make sure that everything's running smoothly. So with that being said, I'll jump into this top one here. Seems to be doing okay. But when it comes down to working with AD, again, it is a little bit tricky when you're first transitioning. So yeah, basically what you want to look out for is this exclamation point. It'll basically stay green if it's in preliminary mode, or if it is, you know, analyzing and it's identified a driver and everything's going well, it's going to stay green at that point. So this, if I hover over this, it shows you preliminary mode triggered. It's going to retry at X time, 5:30, which looks to be in about 9 minutes. And it shows you the choice right there, Dennis Pearson. So right off the bat, I know, oh, okay, it's got Dennis Pearson. I can go ahead and verify that Dennis is good for that order at that point. Let me see here. This is the one that we were looking at. and Dennis Pearson is here. So he's running an order right now. You can't see it, but he's about to drop it off. And he's going to run this one next, which is pretty close. He's about 2.5 miles away, which puts him, pretty close to this order. So I believe Dennis is a good option for this. Now, if someone else kind of, either, forgets to update their order, let me go back to this page. Come on, Google. All right, so Dennis, I believe, was a good option there. But if someone else kind of, becomes free at 5:30, it'll rerun again just to make sure Dennis is still that good option. If someone's right on top of the restaurant and doesn't have an order, it'll say, "Oh, Dennis, you were a good option, but I'll give it to this other driver because they're right there." So either way, I know this one is still going smoothly. I don't really need to do anything. I could manually assign it, but it's not necessary at that point. I'm better off, looking for other things kind of down the list to help with. With that being said, let's see here. This is an example of a red one. It says, automated dispatch is delaying analysis of this order because of unassigned orders that are due earlier, and it gives you the order number. So this is the one that it's waiting for. Essentially, we don't want AD to really prioritize or assign orders that are due later because, of course, back to that core philosophy we were talking about, we want the ones that are due sooner to be delivered sooner. So that's why this one is waiting. It's saying, oh, okay, this one is, due in 27 minutes. Ooh, looks like Dennis got this one. But anyway, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Anyway, so yeah, it was waiting for this one to assign, basically saying we're going to not work any more on these ones. Of course, we want to get them placed if it's a long prep time, but we don't exactly want to get those ones assigned and then leave these other orders that are due sooner, basically to be delayed at that point, waiting for another driver. But that's, just kind of a quick example of how to work with auto dispatch rather than go through and just manually do everything. That's kind of the point of auto dispatch, is to take that load off of you as a dispatcher, give you more elbow room to go about, handling customer situations, handling situations with restaurants, just going about all those other things that auto dispatch cannot do. So this is another market where we got one driver. He's doing his best at the moment. It looks like this one says unable to find a driver in location. It looks like he is over here in Potsdam. I know a little bit about this specific market, but you see these two bottom orders have that same kind of alert from earlier, unassigned orders. They're both being hung up from this one. Currently, this order is saying it can't find a driver because this driver is over the max distance that auto dispatch has set up currently within that location. So if auto dispatch says, okay, I have a max distance of 8 miles and the nearest driver is 10 miles away, it's going to say, well, I can't find a driver, so I'm not going to do anything at the moment, which is something that you would want to look for as a dispatcher, right? So I'm looking through all these red exclamation points, making sure it's something that I can really address, like unable to find a driver. I'm either going to have to get a third-party driver on that, or I'm going to have to manually assign him to that. Even if, he is not necessarily the nearest, he's still the only option currently. So that's kind of another situation that as a dispatcher, you'd be able to get in there and address, making sure that there's no hangups like that. That's definitely something that a human would have to do at that point. Let's see here. Other ones I can take a look at real quick. Oh, that's the one we just looked at. Yeah.
Have you showed the third-party driver stuff? I did not earlier.
I haven't yet, but I can.
Yeah, just go ahead and press one of the cars and get the quote, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that's what I was going to mention, because auto dispatch can handle it if we set up certain things in the back end system, because we can say, if we feel that the delivery time is going to be over X minutes, then go into the third party drivers and dispatch them automatically, right? So you could say, if we think delivery time is going to be over 50 minutes, then call a third-party driver to get us out of the weeds and make sure we can deliver within 50 minutes. So that's what Emer's going to show right now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. He was speaking on a setting that we have on the auto dispatch side as well, where we can set a threshold and basically say, okay, use these third-party drivers as a backup. And we're only going to use them once that quote time for the order hits X minutes or more. So say we're getting really backed up. Some of these orders are saying, you know, let's just say, imagine that this one said 75 minutes. We can set that to the, you know, to any amount of time really in the settings to automatically send that to third party, of course, if it's applicable. So if we want to get everything delivered in 60 minutes or less, we'll say, okay, auto dispatch, we want you to use third party drivers as a backup for 60 minutes or more on any order, if that's what the quote time is. And that would automatically send it to it if it was applicable. But getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So what Devon was saying was this little car here was actually a recent update that we have to make it easier for dispatchers. Basically saying once it's red, at that point we would need to send a third-party driver ASAP. Once I click on it, it'll show me the quote. This is just pulling up quick info where we were checking out earlier. We have the option to do a scheduled or ASAP. Obviously, if it's, you know, it's ready and it needs to be picked up, we can say, okay, we need an ASAP driver. And right now it's going to show me pick up in 14 to 24 minutes. It always gives you a range, and then drop off in 24 to 34 minutes for 826. So at that point, if I wanted to use Postmates, I could go ahead and click this button. It would throw Penbull onto it, which is just kind of a stand-in driver account until we actually get that third-party driver assigned to it. That, of course, all happens automatically. That's nothing manual that we have to do. And that just means that, you know, within the next 24 minutes, they will pick up the order. Within the next 34 minutes, they're estimated to drop it off. And the only cost of that is the 826 there, right? So you don't have to worry about Penbull or third-party drivers getting the delivery fee or the commission from the delivery fee or the tip for the driver. All that goes to the RDS. And the only thing you're paying out is that 826. So in a lot of instances, you know, if it's a really long drive or a larger order, that 826 will be lesser than the normal payout, right? You know, if you have a $20 tip, $10 delivery fee, you're still banking $22 on that via the third-party driver there. But yeah, that's how you would go about using it. Looks like it already got assigned. But that's also where you would be able to go about tracking it as well. So let me go find an actual order that has a third-party driver on it. Let's see here. Okay.
And just to clarify, we have some other integrations like DoorDash, and some integrations you can pass the tip through if you want. It all depends on the connection and the company you're integrated with. So those are all options.
Great point. Great point. Yeah. I mean, sometimes throwing that tip that way might, you know, certainly help get a driver there sooner, might get them there, the delivery there sooner as well. So it might be worth it in that instance. But this is an order that we have with Penbull on it, and we actually have the ability to track the order. It's delivered via Postmates. If anything happened where we had another driver where we could assign it to, this is where we'd go about canceling Postmates. But yeah, if I click this tracking link, we'll share this one. This is in my current time zone. So this basically says it's preparing still, but it's going to arrive within the next 10 minutes. So that basically means that the driver's almost there and then they're quickly going to be en route. You know, they might have had some issue, you know, kind of getting there. If there's traffic and they have to get gas, something to that effect. But that's where you would go about seeing that updated time. And that ports you right over from the quick info that we were at before. You click the tracking link there. Let's see here. A big point, while I have everyone, whenever you're in a situation where you need to take Postmates off of an order, it's very, very important that you go ahead and you hit the cancel button here rather than just dragging another driver on top of it. Because that, you know, dragging the driver doesn't necessarily cancel the Postmates quote at that time. So, you know, in that instance, you know, Postmates is going to continually update on the order and put itself back onto the order, which will confuse, likely the dispatcher and the other driver that you assigned to go in and deliver it instead of the Postmates. So definitely something that we need to watch out for is making sure that we're hitting that cancel Postmates delivery button before we move along with reassigning that to a new driver. Looks like it just went to Daniel B. From Penn Bowl. So looks like the driver should be arriving any minute now. We got some questions in the chat. It says, with Dennis, it appears that his next assigned order and that green AD order that were being delivered really close together. As both of those were 12 minutes old, will AD have him run those together or one at a time? Like, how does it determine what is and what is not a bundle? It's a good question. Let me see if I can get back there. So let me just make sure that I'm understanding correctly. The order that we were looking at earlier, his next order, this one, well, let me share it here. This order and the other one that was coming from this restaurant down here, they were pretty close, delivering pretty close. But the main issue with that, most likely, is going to be the prep time. So you have the ability to change the bundler settings, and auto bundler has been a revelation for us. But auto bundler is basically saying, okay, if I have 2 pickup points within, let's just say 2 miles of each other, and the drop-off points are within 3 miles of each other, and also in addition to that, the prep times are only 10 minutes apart, I'm going to go ahead and consider those as a bundle. But if one of those prep times is 30 minutes and one prep time is 10 minutes, it's going to say, this is not a bundle because the prep times, one food is inevitably going to be sitting, for, either way you slice it, for longer than it should. So that would basically say, this is not a bundle, even though it looks on the map like, oh, they're pretty close pickup, they're pretty close drop off. Maybe we should bundle that up. It really all boils down to how fast they can cook the food as well, right? We don't want the food to sit too long. And if he can go run this order due to the prep time being really quick, rather than, go here, then wait here for 20 minutes, then deliver both of them, it just makes more sense for him to do that rather than, kind of force a bundle in that situation. But kind of back on the auto bundler settings, you can also kind of tweak those parameters if you would prefer him to go ahead and do that. That's of course everyone's prerogative is to make that decision, but there's another setting that says, how late can a bundle be? And, the default is 0 minutes. We don't want any orders to be unnecessarily late, but yeah, you can bump that up as much as you like if that makes more sense for your market. I hope that answers your question, Alex.
It does.
Perfect. Let's see. One more question in the chat. Track order Uber Eats. When you click sign in, the message box appears. Is sending a message there actually go to the driver? So I believe that does not send to the driver. Correct me if I'm wrong, Devon or Ant.
No, you're correct. It does not.
It does not. Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. There was no relay setup currently, but that is something that is being worked on, which I believe is going to help make it even more efficient and consistent.
It definitely would be nice. I will say that so far I have not really seen anything that will offer that as an option, but maybe in the future.
Gotcha. Well, even without the ability to chat the drivers, I can say on average, third-party drivers are pretty consistent, depending on what the quote time says, right? So, if I'm in the weeds and I look at the third party and it says pick up in 75 minutes, delivery in 100 minutes for $40, I'm likely not going to use that because that, just on a deductive level, is saying the third party drivers are very busy right now. They have a very restricted delivery area and basically they can't help out. But, if the quote showed pick up in 14 minutes, deliver in 30 minutes for $8, that's a lot more reasonable, right? So just, based off of the given data, you can make a pretty educated guess. Like, third-party drivers are pretty free at the moment, and they're going to be relatively reliable at that stage in time. But if they're really behind and, you're trying to put more orders onto them, that's really when you see kind of the margin of safety go down a little bit there. as far as I've seen in my experience. Does anybody else have any other questions for third-party drivers or anything to that, that I can speak on there?
Excuse me. Emery, that kicked up a question. I'm not confident in how I'm asking it yet, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
So let's say we have the setting set up where we pull in a third-party driver if our delivery times are over an hour.
Okay.
Now let's say that the example you just gave is going to take them 3 hours and it's going to cost like $40 to do so. If we have this setting set up, will the setting recognize that we'll still be quicker than this third-party driver and not sell it to them?
That is a good question. I am not entirely sure if it has that level of recognition built in currently. Does not. It just sends it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's basically order to driver ratio, and the average is when you're in that situation. It's not currently. But we just really haven't seen any issues with this. I think it's a good question, but we haven't really seen an issue with it where it's like kicking in as a backup when it shouldn't. But there isn't necessarily anything to like protect from that either.
Sure. Fair enough, though. Appreciate that.
And then on that point, Emery, it may be good to go into the surge text, the surge pay text as well.
Yeah, for sure. Before we jump into surge pay, I just want to speak on that situation you brought up, Nick. You can always still check on the tracking link to show you exactly what the delivery time is, because sometimes these third-party, driver pools will get more drivers on, right? Just like, any other RDS would. And that time could drop. Like, there's a possibility that it would drop and they'll be able to get a driver there a lot sooner than they initially quote. So, I mean, it basically boils down to, like, I could get a third-party driver there in 2 hours, or I could get my own driver there in 3 hours. But if something changes on either end, like, it's still flexible, right? So you can always kind of change the course of action there based off of the information. Just based off of what drivers are available where. Yeah, we can jump into surge pay here in a second. One other important thing with third-party driver, you see on this order, it says POP orders are not eligible. That means obviously the pay on pickup makes third-party not eligible for that order. So, there's no way for them to pay for the order at the restaurant and reconcile that with the system. And also on the flip side, if it's a cash order, the customer's paying with cash, that's another situation in which the third-party driver would not be eligible because there's no way for them to reconcile that with your business. So just two things, you're wondering, man, I really need third-party right now, but all my orders are POP or all my orders are cash. Like, I'm kind of stuck in the mud for a little bit until I can get another driver on. Just something to keep in mind. But let me see here. I will pull up some location settings real quick and we'll jump through surge pay. It's another great feature that helps kind of hedge against those, markets that are getting busier and they really need some help. There's some ways to set it up to automatically send out messages and incentives to get drivers on. So let me just share my screen here. Share this tab instead. Okay, perfect. So this is a market's auto dispatch settings. I know this looks like a million different things. It's hard to really see what's going on. But what we need to focus on down here is actually the automatic buffering. This basically is saying if the ratio of orders to drivers equals this, let's increase the quote time minutes by this. And also we have the option to send a message to the drivers based off of that order to driver ratio. So as it gets busier and busier in a market, 2.1 orders to every driver, 2.9 orders to every driver, 3 orders to every driver, 3.5 orders to every driver, it's going to add minutes. So the first tier is adding no minutes, then 15 minutes, then 25 minutes, and 35 minutes. And that just helps, manage the expectation of the customers as well. Just letting them know, hey, we're a little bit busy right now. We can get you that order out, but it is going to be a little bit more time if you want to wait. And if you have this send a message to drivers selected, this will basically enact the surge pay tiers here. So basically at that point, let's say, we have one driver and that third order comes in, boom, we're in tier 1 at that point because we've surpassed 2.9 orders per every driver with that third order coming in. This is going to add 15 minutes to any new orders that come in. as well as send out a kind of an SOS to your driver saying, hey, we're really busy right now. Log on right now for the next 2 hours and you'll earn $2 extra per order that you run. And you can set this to be anything that you like, 1, 3, 5, 5, 10, 15. Just, really depends on what works best for your business economically there. But that's basically how the surge pay works. So you can set it up. You can add $0 if you don't want to add incentives. That's totally, up to you. At that point, it would basically just send out more SOSs saying, hey, we're really busy. Log on if you're free. And depending on how many drivers you have in your location, that might work a little bit better. You might not need to go to the surge pay. But yeah, that's pretty much how that functionality works currently. Really important part of Dispatch's success is this little box right here, of course, making sure that the times are getting bumped up as we get busier, and also we're getting more help on automatically without having to realize, oh snap, 10 orders just came in the last 2 minutes. I didn't have the chance to send out an SOS as a human. Oh wait, but the system already sent it out because it was set up with those parameters. Thank you, Auto Dispatch. We love you. Let's see here. Oh, happy to help, Nick. Alex, I see an issue with third-party deliveries not getting the apartment number. Is there a fix or a workaround? That is interesting. I mean, as far as a fix for that, I have seen it work where they include the apartment number in the line item of the address on the order. But if they include it in the special instructions or something otherwise, that's where I see that issue pop up. And that really is, kind of the delineation there is making sure that it's in that the address field rather than any of the other notes field that the customer can put an order in. But let me jump back to the dispatch board and we can keep the ball rolling. I'm going to take 1 minute to go grab my water, but I will be back in a moment. Devon, if you want to answer a question or two in my absence.
I can definitely answer some questions. People have them for me.
Thanks. I'll be back in a sec.
Maybe some of the customer support features, Devon, like on the order. I don't know if we've gone over that.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I can get my screen share up in just a moment.
Yeah, I think if we dive into the integrated customer support altogether, would be pretty cool to show everybody.
You're talking about Smart Support, I assume, in this case, or?
Correct. Yeah, and then also being able to add credits from the orders and send text messages out, emails and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So there's actually a little bit of discussion on this in a way earlier, but we certainly didn't get into it really. So like one of the questions that Jeff asked was like, why do you see this chat next to the customer name, right? And he doesn't. Another example might be, why do I see these little red headphones up here and somebody else doesn't? So this is going to be Smart Support. If I want to just like open the Smart Support phone system, I actually would just click here. It's going to open up another tab for me. This is our built-in phone system. This one's not that exciting here because it's just an unknown type with just a phone number. It's been here for 1 minute, or 1 minute or less in this case probably, but the customer information will be pulled in here as well. So we'll leave this up for a second. We'll see if anything gets pulled in. I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to the dispatch screen and look at a few other ways for us to get there, right? So you'll see this is actually green now. That's telling me like, hey, you are set as available on Smart Support, right? So because I now have it open in a tab, I was automatically set to available. I actually can automatically change myself to busy or unavailable. And if I leave this on the screen for an extended period of time and I don't answer any phone calls, it will swap me to unavailable automatically as well. Back over here, we do have the customer chat. So if I wanted to just like hit this customer up for some reason, I can press this little box. It will pop me over here and it will actually open a text and drop my cursor in it for me. and I could shoot them over a text message. If they respond, it will come back into the same area. We can take a look at like one of these, for example. So this is actually like an automated message going out here, which I'm going to show you kind of how to like trigger these messages, I guess, in a moment. But you'll see the customer response coming back in as well. This does also show us, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but so hopefully it's not too loud if you can hear it. But the customer's order is going to be right here. We can also like jump right into the customer account here with these hyperlinks. And that does tie back to those other hyperlinks that Emery mentioned earlier. So again, if I highlight the order and hit quick info, I can press this phone number to call a restaurant. I can press these phone numbers to call a customer. And on each order is Anthony was mentioning the I don't actually really necessarily know what to call it, but let's call it like easy customer adjustments and messaging. We've got this little area. So this is actually
New message.
This here is going to be any of our automatic and or manual customer communications basically here. So this is like our messages along with timestamps and stuff like that. Any driver relay messages will show up in here as well. And if we scroll down here, let's just say like this order is running late and the customer like hits me up or something and I'm like, yeah, I'll take care of you. Or obviously, ideally, I'm kind of like ahead of it, right? I can jump in here. I can actually click late order. You'll actually see that the message kind of automatically pops in here and customizes itself. So like this says, Brady, we apologize about your order being late. In this case, we can say missing items. We apologize you had missing items, et cetera, et cetera. So it does customize the message for us based on the scenario. It also, let's go back to late order here, will automatically inject these things. So if, let's say I want to discount the current order $10, and I want to offer a $10 future credit as well, it will actually drop these additional lines into the message where it says we've gone ahead and refunded your order by $10, and we have added a future credit of $10 to your account, which can be used at any time. It will also tell them what email is associated with their account, so it'll be easy for them to use it and drop in the URL as well. So yeah, that's that. It will be recorded here as well if we were to send it on the order. So it just makes everything kind of like right there, right in this one spot. Whenever I'm dealing with a customer issue, I can confirm it via the text message. I can do a current and a future credit and automatically log that communication on the order so that like a customer service manager or something like that can see that I did my job on the order. I think that's pretty much everything I can think of right off the top related to smart support. I was going to see if we could get another phone call in here, but you can filter by types when they are known. So like you could actually, of course, like any driver that calls in, I would assume is going to be in the system. Unless like they change their phone number and don't update you or something, right? But so like a dispatcher actually could have this open and just like turn off everything but drivers and restaurants or something along those lines, right? So that filtering can be pretty handy as well. They can also see the status of their agents. So like, you know, just there's obviously a lot of people logged in here specifically at the moment. But if everybody's on the phone, I can kind of like, if the phone's ringing, I can scroll down here, take a look, see if all my people are busy. And if they are, then I can grab the phone if needed as well. Alrighty. Anything else?
The one big question I think we had was the redelivery, and that was really exciting the way you went through it. That's going to be pretty easy. Doing refunds, I think, is the other question I have on my mind. We're used to from Dreamers, if the driver is online, you can edit the order and push the refund through, but otherwise we got to push it towards our director, and they go into the credit card processor and do the refund. I imagine that might not be the same with you guys. Just wanted to see what it looks like on your end.
That is definitely not. So you're correct. It should be handled really pretty much at any point. So if let's just say like this was not an order from today, it was an order from yesterday, I can still go in here and do a current order discount and a future order credit. In this case, a current order discount really would be a refund, right? I could issue it for like the full amount of the order if I wanted to, 5510, or any portion of that. It will, yeah, I mean, so of course there are a few scenarios there, but the system will definitely automatically handle it. You don't have to like go to some other platform to do it. Of course, like if it's already batched, right, then like it's going to issue it as a separate refund transaction. And you can actually see most of that stuff down here in the credit card transactions. So like right now, this card's only off because the order's still being progressed, right? But it will be captured typically around an hour after it's delivered. And then if I was to issue, say, just like a full refund, it would put the refund on this as well to like indicate that that was there. I think there is like some kind of limit where it stops going back, but it's like a good ways. So it will automatically batch orders, I believe, for the last 30 days, I want to say. So like if you were editing an order from 31 days ago, you would need to manually run the batch report, which is usually something that like we would go over with you closer to launch anyways. But there is a report here, reports, financial, credit batch. And so like if you edited an order from a long time ago, or you see on your dashboard that you have like failed auto batch situations as an alert, then you may need to like go back and actually run a report and batch out for that particular order. But that's going to be a fairly rare case.
How about the other refunds, Devin, where you can delineate if you want to charge it to the restaurant driver, all of that, like the main refund section?
Yeah, for sure. So if we edit an order here, we are going to get some additional options. They actually are like very similar to these options, right, on the order, but we do bring in driver credits and charges and restaurant credits and charges. So we've already got our current discount or future discount. Future discount, future credit, whatever. I'm going to edit this order. And we do have the errors and adjustments tab here. So really like that front, like that order side is going to fill in these boxes. Realistically is what it's going to do, right? But you will just see that there are some additional options here to charge or credit the restaurant and charge or credit the driver as well. So yeah, and these notes will show up. So see anything here will show up in the customer communication, like reports and on the order. This will show up in restaurant communication, and this will show up in driver communication.
And this screen as well, we can pull this up maybe a week or 2 weeks later, and it'll still work in the same way. Does that sound right?
That is correct, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's just another thing, just like generally speaking, like I know there is there's the weirdness, right? Like with drivers having to be checked out or whatever to like batch their orders, like none of that exists here. The orders are going to automatically batch themselves, and if you edit an order within the last 30 days, it will continue to try to auto batch itself as well. If for some reason that can't happen, let's just say, I don't know, maybe like the original amount's $50, you edit it to $150 or something like that. I don't know, like after the fact, right? And you can't close out that order because you did that. Like this is a pretty rare situation, but like if those funds are uncapturable, then you would get an auto dispatch. Not an auto dispatch, but an auto batch failure. Let's see what we have on the dashboard, but it will pop up in like these little red notification boxes if there are auto batch failures, and then it'll take you into the report to view them as well. Are you back, Emery?
I am. I have been.
You can take back over the screen share if you don't mind.
Sure. What did I miss? What topic are we on?
We went over smart support and crediting and refunds and such, errors and adjustments tab, the handy dandy text message from the order view. I think that pretty much covers it.
Nice. All very useful. Any other burning questions I can help address?
Hey, Emery.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, dude. So I'm looking at your screen share here for the restaurant short.
Yep. I have a
There's a little-
restaurant driver short there.
Yeah, restaurant short. What's the thumbs up?
Let's see here. Oh, that is a good question. The thumbs up, I believe, is, I don't know if you can see that hover. I'm hovering over the thumbs. It says has accepted via OrderLogic before. So whenever you have a new restaurant that you're signing up, and you get them a tablet, get them, trained up and all that stuff, that thumbs will actually show, once they accept their first order on OrderLogic. So say you're in the process of transitioning a bunch of restaurants, for some reason they all want tablets now. You could, put in 10 test orders, one for each restaurant, and then, as they accept them, their next order will show that thumbs up. So, yeah, it's a good question. That is the reason behind it, unless I'm missing something else there, Devon.
No, you're spot on. That is exactly what it is. And that also is a very helpful thing, I'm sure, for the Nosh team as well. Which I know many up here, that it actually was added like during a conversion specifically for this reason, right? Because we were like, well, is this restaurant, like, have they used the tablet successfully before, So that actually is the main reason that it exists, is so that you can see, like, okay, yeah, they should know how to use the tablet, right? Otherwise, when you have a long list of restaurants, you might not be sure if they have used it successfully before or not.
Right.
Interesting that that's a thing. I guess I thought everybody just tested their tablets with the restaurants. I just knew.
I'm sure people do,
That's
but
cool.
at scale, little tools here and there help streamline it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of similar to the little star that we see next to these customers where it says, this is a first-time orderer, right? So, I mean, a lot of these have stars, just means basically, this is their first go around. But once, that star falls off, you say, oh, okay, they've ordered before. But yeah, good question. Let me see here. Also, I don't know if we touched on that earlier. Did you go over special instructions, Devon, and these SI hover things? I can go over it again real quick. It's real easy. So SI stands for special instructions. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, perfect. So this one is 45 seconds old. The only reason it's showing up new is because it has a special instruction on there. Let me see. Basically saying, okay, we're not going to auto confirm this one because it has that special instruction. We need to make sure that they're not typing in there, give me 5 different types of meat and extra this, extra that. We want to make sure that we're actually going in and adding charges as applicable for those things to kind of protect those restaurants from getting upset and calling back and saying, we can't do all this stuff for free. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. So that's really what the purpose rather of those SI instructions are. And it also shows on the restaurant as well, but we moved that over to the status column to be easier to see there. So any orders that come in new, that means, they need to be checked on. We do have it set up to auto confirm any orders that don't have special instructions, because it would be not the most streamlined thing to go in and manually confirm every order, right? You know, we need to make sure that we're only focusing on the things that need action. And that's really what, on a whole, the system is predicated around, you know, kind of separating out the most important things for you to address. But yeah, that's special instructions. It's been pretty useful as far as getting that under control. But yeah.
Hey, quick question for you, Emery.
Yeah, what's up?
So have you seen, like, on your guys' side, I guess this time of the year, do you start seeing where deliveries are kind of tapering off a little bit, you know, where people are going out to dinner and stuff like that? Or is it pretty steady still from, you know, last year or pre-COVID?
It's a good question. I mean, as it really all depends on the market, right? I mean, I can't say on average, you know, Q2 is pretty slow just because, like you said, a lot of people are going out. Summertime is a great time to, you know, do more grilling, that kind of thing, going out, eating out, not necessarily kind of staying in more. The weather's rough outside, you know, it's middle of winter. You're not going to be more obliged to go out and have the whole restaurant experience. Makes delivery a lot more attractive at that point in stage. But on the flip side, you know, say your market is on the beach somewhere and you have, you know, 100,000 tourists coming to your location, they're probably going to order a little more rather than in the wintertime where you don't have that influx of tourism. So tourism, you know, really does play a big part in the macroeconomics of your order volume. But, you know, kind of back to your original question, yeah, we do see a little bit of a slowdown in Q2, but it picks up faster than you think in Q3 and Q4. And then, you know, kind of begins that taper off at the end of Q1.
Yeah, Jeff, just overall network wide, we're seeing like a 20 to 25% drop right now. It's pretty drastic. We think it's because of like COVID lifting, the weather's finally good, travel restrictions are lifted. So it's
it's crazy.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a combo of a bunch of different things, but it's pretty nuts what's going on right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we're at like a 45%, probably like 42%, looking at like last year's numbers to like this year. And it's like, shit, I'm getting ready to open up one or two more markets just to kind of make up to go, right? And then, you know, and it might be something, you know, like August, you know, when college is now over with, right? For the until August. So, I mean, it's just different. Really, really weird.
Yeah, for sure.
So has anybody gotten any like the courier orders in at all? Like, is that working yet or no?
I think so. We were testing it. They were getting some. There was an issue when the drivers were getting to the restaurant. Like the restaurant didn't have the orders. It was really weird. So long story short, we will be looking into that, I believe, next week. We're going to put one of our programmers on to see if Olo changed something with the courier orders and try to get that back online for sure.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have it up in the next month and humming. We also have to do a little work on automated dispatch and it recognizing courier orders as well. So that's another part of the puzzle we got to put together.
So question going to courier orders, and I don't know if I'm talking too, you know, early on this, if you guys even haven't, depending on what you guys have talked about. So when we're talking about courier orders or down the road, if the EasyCater or NAT, whatever comes in on the courier side of it, right? We need to have our drivers. We can't be depending on third-party delivery drivers at that point.
You could end up using them as backup, right? We would just take all the information. We have to push it through, but I would say that's about 3 months away. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that ends up.
I think it's gonna be really cool. I think it's gonna be, you know, and it's always exciting when you see new things, right? And I'm excited for the DoorDash as well with the Postmates for the drivers, because in certain markets I don't have Postmates, but there's DoorDash, right? So which is cool. So that's gonna be interesting to see that for sure. But also the couriers, you know, having that, you know, once you guys fix that and update that, I think that's going to be another cool. This is more for me for marketing, and then get them to come over to using our system instead of direct consumer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, any order that you get outside of the system is an opportunity to convert them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely be taking this time to, you know, to try to sign up as many restaurants as possible. So when things start swinging back up, you got a bunch more online for sure. So you're definitely doing the proper thing, opening up a new location.
You think so?
Yeah, or just getting a lot more restaurants in the one location you have. But, you know, I'm a big advocator of really saturating the hell out of one market, and just trying to dominate one market until it's on lock like crazy. I'm talking about like 250, you know, restaurants in one market. So
yeah, and I get that for sure. You know, and that's any of our markets now that we have compared. I mean, the only biggest one is Rochester, and that is a behemoth of a market. There's close to 1,100 restaurants within 8 miles, right? And yeah, there's 500,000 people, but it's just a monster of a market. And then you have other markets where there's DoorDash that will have the McDonald's and Arby's and Taco Bell, and then that's it. And there would be like 30 other restaurants, and we have them, right? So, which is good for us, because people are going to get sick of McDonald's and fast food. I think people want local food.
Yeah, for sure. I think what Anthony was saying holds a lot of value there. You know, even though it is kind of a slower part of the year, you can use that extra, you know, that extra time that you would have, that you would be managing volume, into just doubling down on getting new restaurants, opening up new locations, stuff like that. I mean, even if you're just, you know, opening up a new location, setting up some partnerships, tablets, and doing takeout, like, you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, can, when it gets busier later on down the year, can really pay dividends, right? You know, if you spend 2-3 weeks setting up a market, then it gets busy in the wintertime, you're like, wow, I just made like $8,000 off that market based off of a week's worth of work, right?
And that's what we're doing. Like, we're setting up a market and doing all takeout, and then because they're going to be busier, so I didn't want to push deliveries yet, so forth. But then starting in September, right, turn on delivery, and then they'll be all set, right? And that's the goal. That is the goal.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. There's always some way to monetize your time. That's a fact.
So let me ask you this, Emery, or Devon, if he's still on here. Do you guys have anybody currently that does? I'm interested because I got to build the menu. WowBow. Does anybody that you guys, any clients on DeliverLogic, have WowBow for a restaurant?
I have one in one of my markets, but I never went live with them because we had a difference on opinion on the financials. So
we have a WowBow restaurant on.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm only asking this because I'm actually opening one up in my own restaurant. So how did you guys set it up as a virtual restaurant within that restaurant itself, or like any issues at all, I guess?
So it's actually run out of a bowling alley.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we just set it up as a restaurant, and we just instruct the drivers to go into the bowling alley and collect the food, and pretty simple stuff. So
are you in Estes Park?
We're actually not live on DeliverLogic yet. We will be soon, but we're in Northern Colorado.
Okay. Are you with Noco Nash?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. No, my name's Dusty. I'm Warrior Express. I'm in Estes Park.
Oh, nice. Nice to meet you, Dusty.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you at Chippers Lane?
Yes, Wow Wow is at Chippers Lane. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I tried to partner with what's that guy's name? Matt.
Matt
Right?
Hovitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We had a difference of opinion on financials. Yeah. That's why we never
Gotcha.
went live. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's all good.
Do you see that you're getting a lot of orders with them?
Not a ton, but they do more than I would have expected. But I do think people like it. I think it's was it out of California originally?
Chicago.
Chicago. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, they do decent business.
Okay. Well, if you guys ever want some bow or some pot stickers, you guys got to come to the pizza shop.
Don't do it. He'll put you to work immediately.
You got that right.
Where
Listen,
you
my
at,
son,
Jeff? That's a good offer.
my son just turned 14, so he is going on the payroll. We're in upstate New York.
Nice. Got it.
Nikki? I don't know if she's still there.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you say that you are live right now on DeliverLogic with WowBow?
We are not. We will be in a couple weeks.
Gotcha. Okay. What platform are you using right now?
Data Dreamers.
Data Dreamers. Okay. Did you guys copy the menu from like the DoorDash menu?
When we originally set Wow Wow up?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I think Matt, the owner of the bowling alley, sent us just the menu.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. It was a while ago, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Devon, good thing for you. I think we're going to be flying direct from where I'm located right down to Tampa. So you can get a direct flight straight on up.
Wow, I've been waiting just for that. So yeah.
How are the markets looking, Emery? Anything else we could show? Maybe go over the columns, the different columns. You may have already gone over all that, but yeah, I think we did.
First 40 minutes was a clinic Devon put on. I followed that up as best I could, but yeah, we've covered pretty much the entire dispatch screen at the moment. I guess we didn't. Well, Devon, did you cover these little things down here at the bottom?
I did not. Take it away.
Well, there you go. So these little counters at the bottom was something that was developed to help the dispatch team out. It shows you the percentage and the number of the unassigned, confirmed, placed, arrived, and en route. So, say you had 300 orders on your board and you noticed, okay, 85% of them are unassigned. That's likely due to a blockage of, not having enough drivers in a few markets, or, there might be a placing issue, something that's jamming it up. Anywhere from, I'd say 50 to 40% or below is a pretty healthy number, because of course you don't want everything to be assigned right away. Anything above that, I would start to look at the driver box over here on the left to see which markets need the most assistance. And kind of the same is true for confirmed, placed, arrived, and route. So if I have a bunch of confirmed orders, that means, okay, likely we need some help placing right now. If I have a bunch of placed orders and not many arrived, drivers probably are a little backed up. So that just goes to show, kind of what the situation would look like in any individual market, or rather on your dispatch board in total there. But below that as well, we have the number of current orders plus the sales in the parentheses after it. The total orders for the day is after that. And then everything else is relatively self-explanatory there. It's got cash, credit, corporate, alternate. Those are payment methods. Canceled is in red here. average CPE, CDE, and CFE. I'm honestly not entirely too sure what those stand for. I don't really use them that much. Devin, do you know what those are? Or anyone?
I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I do. Although I do usually forget as well when I first look at them because they are weird abbreviations. But it's Courier Partner, Courier Pickup Estimate is the first one. Courier Drop-Off Estimate is the second one, and Courier Fee Estimate is the third one. And so actually what happens is when we get every order in, we actually hit to see what it is, like what the situation is right now, basically.
Right.
So even if you're not requesting a driver, we're pulling in that information. That's actually how we determine whether the car should be like black, gray, or red, the one that's in that driver short column.
Right.
We use like that last pull to determine on average how long it would take us to get something to a restaurant if you use a third-party driver in this case.
Gotcha. Well, those are really useful then. I mean, as far as being able to look at a glance, like, you know, I'm really in the weeds right now. What's my average pickup estimate? How expensive is it? You know, what's the delivery time looking like? Rather than having to go through and actually quote each one, you could just look at these and say, oh, okay, all these numbers are looking pretty low right now. Let me get a third party on a couple of orders, get me caught up, and then we'll take it from there. So that's great to know. Kind of back into the whole third party driver conversation we were having earlier. But past that, we have the average ASAP time. This is something that I look at most frequently. Of course, you know, we want to get this as low as possible. 43 minutes is not that bad. We typically see in between 40 and 45 minutes on average. Sometimes a little bit lower as well. And then it shows you the average order. So that's going to be your sale price there, around $40. It's pretty standard. Food sales, e-store sales. I have the little Google thing in front, but that says Courier, advanced, and last refreshed with a timestamp. So that actually brings me to the advanced one. Let me see if it'll let me click it. This is a button that I like to use with my team. We have a procedure built around this where we actually placed our advanced orders for all of our clients 3 days in advance. So we're checking up into, let me just click it real quick. That basically will show you all the orders placed that will be due in the future. So let's see here. All of these are due in, 900 plus minutes. And we actually check for anything that is less than 5,000 minutes, which pretty much equates to about 3 days ahead of time. So anything above that, we can pretty much check at a later time and get that order placed if needed. But say this order is $400 and it's due in like 2,900 minutes. I believe that's 2 days from now, something like that. We'll go through and we'll actually pre-place those with the restaurants and mark them follow up just to let them know, or let the team know that we have contacted them about this order.